thoughts even back in 1994, which was nearly 30 years ago, and he actually put a song on the album called Suicidal Thoughts. So, it's been in the public eye now, just from those two rappers. Even if you want to just look at it like that, it's been in the public eye for 30 years. People have been talking about it, but we still aren't comfortable to talk about it, I think. Anyway, I'm finding this quite difficult to talk about. Anyway, just to reiterate as well, this is probably where my meandering experience starts, and this is where it gets more personal, because the idea of this podcast for me is to be as honest as I can. I am emphasising bipolar, and I want the conversation around mental health to continue. But realistically, I have 1,000,001 different goals for this podcast. I have 1,000,001 different ideas for what I want to talk about on this podcast. But essentially, the overriding goal for this podcast is to stop suicide. So I think we're on, if you're still listening, we're on 16 and a half minutes now. And yeah, I want to now talk positively for the next possibly 15 odd minutes. I believe the impact of suicide, I'm very fortunate to not know anyone that has. I know people who have, but I don't know anyone that has. Has successfully, it's not successful, but has completed, sorry, it's the wrong use of words there, but has completed a suicide. But essentially, I can't imagine the impact it has on that individual's life. We have to remember that the reason why people do that is because of the sheer amount of pain that they are in. And so I guess it's the ending of their pain, but then, as Dave said in his lyrics, it doesn't stop the pain, you're only moving it. And that can affect the individual's loved ones and close friends and things like that. So I guess it's probably time for me to talk about my link to this, and we'll go back to the title, which is the title of this podcast, which is The Writings of a Suicidal Thinker. Now, I haven't actually said this to a lot of people. I think this may come as a bit of a shock to some people. There was a time in my life a few months ago, for about 6 weeks, where I was experiencing quite intrusive suicidal thoughts. Now, for me, the way that went was that sort of from the moment you wake up, pretty much the moment you go to sleep, you are bombarded with negative thoughts about not wanting to be here anymore. And let's just leave it at that. That was all it was. And I never made an attempt. I didn't even really put any ideas out there. I don't want to talk about suicidal ideation from my own experience, because I haven't experienced it. I've experienced suicidal thoughts, and hey, this is difficult. This is really difficult to put out there, but why is it? I think that's the most important question that we all have to ask ourselves, is that someone I know recently has had an insect bite on their leg. Now, how that's infiltrated for that person is that it was a bite, it was itchy, it got more itchy, and then after a few days, that itching became a bit worse. It looked like there was a bit of an infection spreading, and essentially then there was a burning feeling. Okay, so what an insect bite has done in that person's example is it's made the insect bite itch. It's then showed signs of infection, and then it's felt like a burning sensation. So all three of those things that I've just said are symptoms of an insect bite. Now, that insect bite, the person who got that insect bite didn't ask for that insect bite. The insect just decided to bite that person. And those symptoms were just symptoms of the insect bite. That person didn't ask for the insect to bite them, and also didn't ask for those symptoms. Quite similarly to the depression, and in my own experience, bipolar depression. I didn't ask for bipolar, and I certainly didn't ask for bipolar depression. Now, it just so happens that one of those symptoms, just like itching, or just like a burning sensation, was a suicidal thought. Now, a lot of people probably don't believe in suicidal thoughts. I don't know. I can't speak for everyone, but I know for certain that before I had suicidal thoughts, I didn't think that I didn't see how that could be a symptom of depression. But it was. And again, I will say, and not for sympathy or anything like that, because I don't want sympathy. I want to help now because I am in recovery. I didn't ask for bipolar. I didn't ask for bipolar depression. And I definitely didn't ask for the symptoms in the form of suicidal thoughts. So as I say, why should it be any different for me that has suffered from bipolar depression to say that one of my symptoms is suicidal thoughts? Because that other person that I know who's had the insect bite would quite happily go and tell anyone that they had a burning sensation in their leg. And you know what that person then went and did? She checked those symptoms. And then she went to the doctor. And then the doctor gave medication and pushed her in the right direction to go to where she needed to go. If what I've just said resonates with anyone, just one person, then great. But what I'm trying to say here is, if you are experiencing symptoms of depression, and that symptom, or one of those symptoms, is suicidal thoughts, just like the insect bite, tell a friend. That's what that person did first. Okay? Then she researched it. And then she went to a doctor. And then there was a solution. There's always a solution. Because if one person is recovered from depression, then everyone can recover from depression. There is so many different techniques. There's medication, there's therapy, there's exercise, there's acupuncture, there's yoga. So many different things. And it doesn't always have to be just what the doctor says. It doesn't always have to just be therapy and medication. There's so many different things that can go. But I won't go too deeply into that. But I hope people understand what I'm saying when I say that. But I'll go back to what I was originally saying and saying this is probably a bit of a shock for some people to hear what I've just said. My close family know at different strengths. And that's why I've not gone into it too much. But I've made sure that they have an idea. For other family members that don't know, I can't apologise because I'd be a hypocrite. But I can apologise if it shocked you. But let's bring a positive out of a negative and say, I'm okay now, I'm in recovery. And I know now that if I ever go back to that place, I will do again what I did before. And that leads me on to the fact that I actually told 3 people in my life that I didn't really want to be here anymore. And that's how I phrased it. I think with one of them I probably went a bit further than that, but I never started off by saying or using language like I want to kill myself. Because I think, again, you have to change the language, as it's a very harsh thing for someone to receive. So I told 3 people. Those 3 people, if they're listening, or if you're listening, you know who you are. And I am saying to you now, thank you, because you helped save my life. I told another one of my friends today, after the event, quite a few months after the event, and I'd like to reiterate my thanks to that person as well. They're not the first people I want to thank, though, and they are hugely important to me, and they deserve all the thanks in the world. And those 4 now people that know and knew at the time, I haven't got good enough words to describe the impact, the positive impact that they had on my life at that time. But I do want to bring it back to my family and say, again, if you're listening to this, again, I'm sorry for the shock that this might bring. But what am I? You know this, guys, and I'm talking directly to my 4 family members. You know what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to change the way that people look at bipolar. I'm trying to change the way that we look at mental health. I'm trying to change the way we talk about mental health. And I am sorry that it might be a shock, guys, but I can't apologise for the fact that I'm saying it, because that's what I'm aiming to do. But I want to finish by saying you guys have and always will be my number 1 support. Absolutely. And I know this is going to be difficult to listen to, but thank you from the bottom of my heart. You'll never, all 4 of you, you will never know how much I love you. That's a fact. Anyway, because this is getting long, I might try and wrap it up. 2 years ago, I was sectioned, and I revealed a lot about my life that I didn't necessarily want to. It was sort of out of my control because I was having a manic episode. I said some things which were horrible, and they were lies about my family. I've done my best to apologise, and I continue to try and better the relationships I have with all 4 of my close family and any of my friends that were affected by what I said. I'll reiterate that apology 100%. But essentially, just to... I think, if I'm honest, I'm looking to get this at 30 minutes, but I don't want to rush it. So let's aim for 35 minutes, guys. I hope if you're still with me, then I hope you're okay. And I'm sorry if as I say, I am sorry again if it's a shock, but I can't apologise for talking about suicide, because it's the worst symptom of depression. So I've written down here, remember, you never know what someone is going through. At that time, which was the worst I've ever felt, I probably, and I'm not saying, I definitely portrayed a character that was okay, but I was so far from okay, but I just got better at acting. And it takes a long time, and I'm not saying that you can just do this overnight, but to anyone out there who might be quick to judge people, just remember there's some things you can't see.